If you are listening to this, then you likely already know that you shouldn't be. But I will preface by saying that listening to this tape will put you in grave danger. As of the moment you are listening to this, I am likely already dead. Possessing this tape and distributing it will be considered an act of terrorism, a threat against national security. It may already be too late, but I cannot say that for certain. Perhaps they will offer you leniency if you do not listen. I do not know. Regardless, you may find yourself coming to regret what you hear on this tape. Once you know something, you cannot unknow it. In this case, you will find that to be true to the most extreme measure. If you received this tape, and the streets are not on fire, then it is because you were chosen to receive it. I chose you. Based on a multitude of factors, I have chosen a handful of you to hear my message. I want it to be known that I acted alone in doing this. None of the recipients knew or consented to my scheme. I did not have any outside assistance in this act, be it external or internal. I am solely to blame for this leak of information. I accept full responsibility in doing so. I do not have remorse or regret for my actions. I believe that it is entirely my duty as a citizen of the United States of America to do everything within my power to release this information to the public. Information that would otherwise be hidden and perhaps even weaponized against not only citizens of our great nation, but citizens around the world. You have received this tape because I believe you are of similar mind, that you will listen and come to the same conclusions that I have. And I trust that you will find a way to spread this recording far and wide. And with such an overwhelming ferocity that they will not be able to silence it. You suspect, as well as I know, that the media would not be able to circulate this information before it is intercepted. That is why I have come to you directly, citizen to citizen, human to human. As a show of my good faith, I will inform you that I was only able to discover you because the DoD is aware of your presence and your operations. It will only be a matter of time before they have enough information to move against you. Therefore, I recommend that at the end of this transmission, you make arrangements to flee before you are prohibited from doing so. Let it be known I do not do this to intentionally bring you harm. I stand with you in solidarity for the sake of our nation and against the shadowy operations of the United States government, which has brought turmoil to our people. Operations that I have been privy to and have, over the years, smuggled from my position within the Department of Defense to fellow patriots. But this information has exceeded my experience and my imagination. It is not something that I can quietly relay. It is something that needs to be known in full and with haste. Again, I am acting alone in this operation. There are no conspirators or allies in this mission, nor in any previous breach of data. Never were recipients informed or consensual in the acts of my own treason. July 20th, 1969. Apollo 11 astronaut Neil Armstrong is the first man to walk on the moon. In 1970, Apollo missions 18, 19, and 20 were canceled due to budgetary concerns. And on December 7th, 1972, Apollo 17, the final official lunar mission, lands on the moon. However, last year in December of 1974, the crew of the canceled Apollo 18 mission were informed that they were being assigned to a top-secret lunar mission under the direction of the Department of Defense. Disguised as a satellite launch, the crew were instructed that they were to go to the moon to place detectors that would alert the United States of any impending ICBMs, intercontinental ballistic missile attacks from the USSR. However, the true nature of this mission was not only hidden from the public, but from the crew themselves. The detectors for the sake of ICBM monitoring were secondary to the DoD's true purpose of the mission. The crew was outfitted with extensive audio and video capture devices and instructed to keep them rolling, no matter what. We did not send these men to the moon to deploy defensive satellites. The detector's purpose was for monitoring alien life forms, not the USSR. We sent them there to encounter hostile alien life forms. We sent them there to die, so we could get it on camera. While it was the hope that the crew would survive solely for the purpose of retrieving samples to be studied, Nathan Walker, Lieutenant Colonel John Gray, and Captain Benjamin Anderson all died as a result of encounters with hostile alien life forms currently dwelling on the moon. During the mission, Gray remained in orbit aboard the Freedom Command module, while Walker and Anderson land on the moon in the lunar module, Liberty. As they traverse the moon to place the detectors, they collect samples of moon rock, as they have been instructed to do. All lunar missions have retrieved samples, and Apollo 18 was instructed to do the same. Let it be known that the DoD knew full well the probability of these samples to be, in actuality, extraterrestrial organisms. The moon-dwelling creatures, when in their idle state, have the appearance and hardness of rock, but they are not. At least not all of them. And the DoD not only understood but hoped the astronauts would be able to retrieve a contained organism for further study of its behavior when interacting with the astronauts. While on their lunar excursion, the two men came across another set of tracks. Human. Following them led to a functioning, blood-stained Soviet LK lander and a dead cosmonaut in a nearby crater. The teams radioed Houston to inquire about the Soviets' presence, but are only given the order to proceed with the mission. This was the direction of the DoD. We were already fully aware of Soviet presence on that area of the moon. Like us, they had gone there because they discovered the extraterrestrial presence it held. As far as the DoD was concerned, this was a new branch of the arms race. of the space race. Who could discover the most about this alien life form, and how to possibly weaponize it? Communications between the command and lunar modules was increasingly difficult. The astronauts believed they had issues communicating with Houston as well. However, at this time the DoD was purposefully keeping radio silence with the crew, informing them that the interruptions were caused by interference from the ICBM devices. In truth, the detectors were emanating a signal that caused radio disruption, but it was not an unintended technical malfunction. The signal was purposefully emitted as a hope to lure the life forms to the area, so more audio and visual recordings of them could be transmitted back to Earth. And this created an extreme risk to the crew, but that was considered an acceptable one. While attempting to fix the detectors, a creature emerges within Walker's suit. He is brought back on board and undresses to discover a wound in his chest. Anderson, using onboard surgical tools from his first aid kit to remove what appears to be a moon rock from Walker's body. However, Walker has suffered an infection as a result and grows increasingly delirious, paranoid, and hostile. This leads to the destruction of the Liberty, forcing them to abandon it. Ultimately, Walker succumbs to his delirium, and Anderson is forced to leave him and gain control of the operational Soviet LK, hoping to use it to reunite with John Gray on the command module. Anderson uses the functioning radio and manages to contact USSR Mission Control, who then patch him through to us at the Department of Defense. The Department Secretary of Defense communicated with Anderson directly over the radio. He informed Anderson of the DoD's decision that we would be unable to bring him home. That we could not take the risk of him being infected and bringing that infection back to Earth. Anderson asked to speak to his family and was informed that his family would be told he died a hero, but that there was nothing we could do for him. We would keep the channel open, but the decision was final. Shortly after, John Gray passes over with the command module and manages to make radio contact with Anderson in the LK, instructing him to launch and come to a synchronized orbit so he could spacewalk onto the command module. We radio John Gray directly, giving him the direct order that Anderson was not to be retrieved due to contamination. If Gray did not abort the rescue operation, then he would be cut off and not allowed to return home. However, the Soviet LK ended up being contaminated with the space rock organisms, causing Anderson to lose control and crash into the Freedom module, killing both men on impact. Official reports will state that Lieutenant Colonel John Gray was killed in a crash during a training mission over Tallahassee, Florida. His body was never recovered. Official report on Commander Nathan Walker states his F-14 crashed into the Pacific Ocean near a Korean Air Force base. His body never recovered. Captain Benjamin Anderson, official report, he was killed during a mid-air evacuation over the East China Sea. His body never recovered. These reports are fabricated. They are lies to protect the secrecy of the Apollo 18 mission. Footage and audio have been recovered and extensively reviewed in the top-secret laboratories hidden in remote areas of the country. This is well-documented evidence of the extraterrestrial threat. But you need to understand how we became aware of this threat in the first place. It is because they are already here. Samples from previous missions that had been recovered and brought to Earth were somehow dormant during the trip. The crews didn't realize what they had brought back with them. The United States government possesses an alien entity from the moon, currently being held and studied in a hidden laboratory. The Department of Defense is hoping that by studying these aliens, they can find some advantage to propel us forward in the arms race. The presence of the Soviets on the moon suggests they have the same idea. The Soviet lab we were keeping tabs on, suspected of possessing a specimen of their own, has gone dark as of 48 hours ago. It is suspected that there was a containment breach, and the specimen, according to our intelligence, has not been recovered. That is why I could not wait, why I needed to get this to you now. If I had more time, I would have been able to deliver the footage. But know that it exists. Eventually, it will come to light. Perhaps sooner than later. If anything on those tapes is an indication of what the alien is capable of here on our own planet. I can only hope that my actions here will prepare you for what's to come. I swore to protect my nation from all threats, foreign and domestic. But this enemy has no country. It has no borders. It has no government or law. Above all else, it has no humanity. Spread this message as far as you can. Translate it into every language that you can. In the face of an extraterrestrial threat, we are all